Welcome back. Today, or at least in this series or this episode, I'm going to share with you some very basic principles of geometry and drawing geometry. There's multiple ways of doing it, and I almost always start with developing closed polygons to create surfaces or planes. But you can draw simple geometry in whatever shape you want. So I'm going to show you the three tools that are most often used for that, and some tips about drawing them. So specifically about radii and curvilinear surfaces or curvilinear forms. So let's get started on that, and then we'll come back. So as I've mentioned probably previously, you can use this pencil tool to draw whatever shape you want, really. It doesn't have to be a normal polygon to create a closed surface. It just has to be a closed shape, a closed polygon. And this also works for the other drawing tool, which is the Scribble Tool, right? So I think I've shown you this previously in another video. As long as it crosses the borders somewhere, it makes a closed shape, right? And similarly, you can cross over existing shapes that aren't components and make a new shape from them, and then make those things components. And of course, we can do fun things like extruding this one and extruding that one, right? So all those things are still true. But the thing that I wanted you to make note of, and this scribble is super helpful in that way. Notice that it's not really smooth, right? There's a series of segments that make up that, and this is probably way more evident in the radius or the arc. So there's several different ways of drawing an arc. The first, you click a point and then go out that distance or that radius and then draw it, right? So that's a really simple way of doing it. But notice at the bottom right-hand corner, there's a field where you can type in a specific angle. So I know that I want that to be 45, and then it gave me a 45-degree angle away from that vertex, right, or that endpoint. So that's one way. The next way is from point to point. So drag, and this is the one I use most often. So your start point, your end point, and then you use this to develop the radii. So the degree is flexible, but at the bottom you have something called bulge. And so when I'm doing parking lots, for example, and I know I need a radius edge, I'll use the bulge and type in 5 feet, and I know that's going to be a 5-foot edge, right? So that's the one I use most frequently. The 3-point arc is what it sounds like. Start point, second point, and third point, right? I don't use that one as much, if ever. And then last is the sky, and this is the pie. So point, click, and then done. So it creates a closed surface for you. And those are the ones that I've the arc segments. But notice again that this thing is in segments. It looks like one line, but if you could probably count it 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. It makes a really weird model rendered. It looks like it's faceted versus being smooth. So something I want to show you is when you do this tool and you give it that bulge, right? There's nowhere to control that. But when you do a circle, and so I click the send, before I click anything, notice at the bottom where it says sides 24, I almost always type in 60. And then this is a circle with 60. So there's 60 segments. And there's still segments there, but they're much, much smaller. So that when you're rendering that, it's much smoother and it looks more like a curve. So I'm going to put it back to the default 24 and draw the same circle, at least a similar size circle. Notice the segmentation, how it's much more pronounced. So that's the difference between this 60-sided segment or polygon and this 24-sided. SketchUp doesn't recognize circles as infinite curving surface. There are always segments and the number of segments that's needed to complete them. So the last of these are these really interesting. You can make rectangles, You can make a rotated rectangle. You can make any sorts of polygon. Just tell it how many sides. You can do a 10-sided polygon. You can do 8-sided polygon, and so on and so forth. And you know, right now the inscribed radius, it's asking me to draw another one. If I hit escape, I can go back and change the sides. So notice in the bottom right hand corner again, the sides is 3. So that should be a triangle. And now that's the triangle. So the Polygon tool is pretty helpful. And then the last is the one I use actually quite a bit, is 3D text. So you type in, let's say, test, and choose the font that you want. I'll use Oswald, and the height of that text, which is, let's say it's 3 feet high. That's the height as if you were looking on a piece of paper, right? 3 feet high. But it will be extruded 6 inches deep. And then I'm gonna put it over here next to this guy, and you see what I mean. And also it is surface specific, right? Which is super nice. So I use that one quite a bit as well. Hopefully this is helpful, again, to understand geometry and how SketchUp recognizes surfaces and divides things into segments. That's really it. Hopefully if you liked it, you'll hit subscribe and share this with others, and then help me keep growing this channel. Have a great day.